What do Game of Thrones, Black Friday, and Japanese anime princesses all have in common? Well, absolutely nothing, except the fact that South Park has found a way to combine all of them and make one of the best 3-part stories of the whole series. Season 17's Black Friday trilogy was my introduction to South Park, and I loved it. For someone who has never seen a single episode before this, I was completely blown away by how seamlessly the story just worked. And they sent me down a rabbit hole where I've been watching South Park non-stop for the past 2 months. But of a total of 26 seasons, where I've only watched 12 so far. When I think back to the best South Park episode I've watched, the Black Friday trilogy still stands out as my favorite. In these 3 episodes alone, we got G.R.R. Martin, the creator of Game of Thrones, talking about his weird wiener obsession non-stop. Bill Gates have a full-on street fight with the CEO of Sony. Parents turning into White Walkers because of a new kids toy called Don't Touch Me Elmo. Stan getting grounded because he took a dump in an old man's garden. And a whole bunch of stuff I would just rather not mention on YouTube. But the thing that caught my attention right from the start has to be how easily they fit the Game of Thrones satire into their own story. Because from the very start, you can so clearly see that every character has their own goals and motivations, and that they are willing to betray and deceive anyone to achieve those goals. Something that's a staple of the Game of Thrones series. The boys are focusing on getting the next generation consoles for a super cheap price on Black Friday, but they split up because some wanted Xboxes and others PlayStation. This separation starts a war. Bill Gates and the CEO of Sony gets involved. Randy joins the mall security team so that he can sneak his way first in line and hopefully buy the new TV he's looking for. And this reporter covering the whole situation is doing the absolute most in more ways than one so they can turn this story into the biggest hit piece of his career. They set the tone of the story right from the start, and it immediately engages you. You keep thinking, what are they all up to? Who will come up with the next outrageous idea, and who will end up on top? These are the questions that fill your mind all throughout the episodes. Cartman has to be my favorite character of the story. Like usually he's the mastermind behind the whole operation, coming up with the plan to be the first ones into the mall and get the 80% discount on the consoles, gathering the warriors of Sauron and meeting in the Great Hall. He even sent Butters and Scott Malkinson to G.R.R. Martin's house just to try and find out how they defeat the Queen of Dragons in Game of Thrones, so that they can use that information to beat Kenny and Stan after they switch to Team PlayStation. My favorite scene of this whole story has to be Cartman bringing people into the Garden of Betrayal and saying to them, listen, this is all about me and you getting Xboxes. The rest, they are simply there just to help us get into those doors. Just for the old guy to shout from his house that Cartman is lying. Every time I saw the garden, I remember thinking, who will Cartman try and manipulate next? And seeing Bill Gates do exactly to Cartman what he has been doing to everybody else was so funny. Even the way that whole story ended, with Eric saying he's going to take a dump in the old man's garden, and that being the thing that Stan gets grounded for later, was so perfect.
Asshole! Get out of my garden! I'll shit in your garden!
Kenny has quickly become my favorite character in South Park. But what's even better than Kenny? Princess Kenny, of course. And what's even better than Princess Kenny? Well, obviously Japanese anime Princess Kenny. And the way they ended episode 1 with Princess Kenny betraying Cartman and Team Xbox. Just to start episode 2 with a monologue of Princess Kenny explaining how this war between Xbox and PlayStation has divided the entire land. And then to top off the crazy Kenny story by having the CEO of PlayStation show up and give Kenny a gift that turns him into a real Japanese anime princess was hilarious. Especially with the Japanese music playing, the whole art style switching up, and even them doing the voiceovers in Japanese. For a first time watcher, I had a what the hell am I even watching moment. And seeing anime Princess Kenny fully voiced in Japanese parachute out of her plane to destroy 2 Microsoft boats sent by Bill Gates to blow up a ship carrying the new PS4s was that moment. I wasn't even sure what I was watching, but I was 100% into it. Just like you should 100% hit that like button and sub to my channel. Did you do it? Thank you! I can't not mention probably the biggest star of the story. The one who didn't just escalate the whole situation between PlayStation and Xbox, but who was there to take full advantage of everything that was happening. That person is this reporter. Not only did he play both sides of the war, convincing the CEO of Sony, by means I will not mention or even allude to on YouTube, to help our team PlayStation by sending them something that will give them the edge on the battlefield, or blackmailing Jamie and Cersei, the dynamic brother and sister anchor duo, to play along with Bill Gates' plan to make this the most brutal Black Friday ever. He was literally the puppet master of this whole conflict, and I loved every second of it. Even the way they incorporated G.R.R. Martin's character and his weird wiener obsession. Watching him explain to Butters and Scott the ending of Game of Thrones was one of the weirdest yet greatest first experiences of a show in my life. Even playing on his inability to get to the damn point with the pizza or having him cut a ribbon was so accurate. Fun fact, it's been 10 years since this episode aired, and the book he was working on back then still hasn't been finished. They really got the character representation right on this one. Except the wiener part.
Inside yet another wiener party sorty.
Now, let's talk about the ending. The endings of the story to me is the most important thing. Let's be honest, the journey does not matter if the ending sucks. And unlike Game of Thrones, this trilogy actually had a perfect conclusion. Team Xbox calls a truce, which Team PlayStation agrees to, and Cartman comes up with a plan to host a fake wedding at the Red Robin. But what Team PlayStation doesn't know is that Cartman and Kyle are planning to betray them, lock them inside the Red Robin, and be first in line to get the super discount and grab themselves some Xbox Ones. Even though things didn't go as planned and Bill Gates turned out to be a street fighting beast of a man, the boys then decide to go buy themselves some Xboxes, just to later choose to play outside rather than play Xbox. I really don't think there could have been a better introduction to South Park than this trilogy of episodes. And with some other great multi-episode stories like Imagination Land, Cartoon Wars, and Go God Go, they stand out as some of the best stories South Park has ever told. If you made it to the end of the video, I really appreciate you and you are a real one. Drop a like and sub, and comment with your favorite South Park episode and what made it the best for you. Bye!